Hi, in this video we're going to walk step by step on how you can create songs and music videos for those songs, all in wan2gp. wan2gp is an open source platform that makes running open source AI models efficient and has a nice, easy to use UI where you can switch between song generation, image generation, and video generation, so you have a creative production suite at your fingertips. If you don't know how to run wan2gp, I will link to a separate video that will get you up and going on RunPod in under 5 minutes. Or if you have your own GPUs, you can install directly on your own machine, even with low VRAM. Let's get started with song generation. I'm here on wan2gp in RunPod on an RTX 5090. You're going to want to select TTS, or text-to-speech, in the first dropdown. And then in the second dropdown, you want ACE-step version 1.5. That's the new one. And then we're going to use the largest language model, the LM4B. There are a lot of settings you can set in this model. For the language model pre-processing, we're going to start with the simplest of having the model generate the audio codes. We're not going to have it refine our caption or set the duration or set the beats per minute. We will just go with the basic to start with. I encourage you to play around with these. There's a lot of knobs you can play with. Then we're going to select the text to audio. We're not going to provide a reference song. If you do provide a reference song, keep in mind it is inspiration for the model. It is not going to be a direct cover of that song. It is interesting to see what the model gleans from an example song, but I found that providing lyrics and a style got me more direct results for what I wanted. We are going to be making a dance version of Elvis's Burning Love, so I'm at genius.com to copy over the lyrics. You'll notice I'm copying the "you might also like" stuff on the side, so then when we paste that in, make sure if you do use genius.com to delete that part of the lyrics, or else it will end up part of your song. So I'm just kind of scanning through my lyrics, cleaning it up, and then we'll delete that extra text. You'll notice in the lyrics there are song sections in brackets, and we want those. Those are helpful for the model, and I found that the ones from genius.com generally worked. The creators of the model created this really helpful guide, a must-read, on how to work with the model and the philosophy they have behind it. They do not view this as one-click song generation, rather that it is human-centered generation. So you have a lot of control and you can be really creative. Here I actually found while working with the model that I wished I knew more about music composition so I could be more effective. But in this guide, they have common tags. So those tags in brackets, chorus, bridge, outro, etc. You can even have a guitar solo and instrumental sections. You can exert control right within your lyrics over how the song is composed. And then you are able to provide a caption. So in addition to your lyrics, you provide captions. I want this to be a dance song, so I'm going to say 2010s EDM, male vocals. And they have a bunch of sample captions there in the guide, and you can use your own. You're not just limited to those, but it's a good starting place. Then you can set your beats per minute, your key, your time signature, your language, default English, and the duration of your song. I'm going to keep the default 2 minutes, but keep in mind it doesn't do exactly what you set for duration. And then for seed, I'm going to keep it at the -1 because I want to do multiple generations and I want each generation to be different. Temperature controls how creative the output is going to be. I'm going to stay with the default 1. If you want it more creative and random, increase the number. We don't have a source audio, so source audio strength doesn't matter. And then I'm going to do 2 generations at once. They generate so quickly that I just found it makes sense to do multiple 2 to 3 at once and see which output you like. And then usually in wan2gp, when you have a prompt with line breaks, it treats each line break as a new prompt. And you don't want that with a song because we have many, many line breaks. You want all of the line breaks to be treated as one prompt. So now we're ready to hit generate. And the first time you run it, it has to download the model. After that, it will be much faster, and they can generate in under a minute, depending on what kind of machine you're on. It took me longer to listen to the songs than to generate them. One annoying thing about the UI is I wasn't able to download the songs directly from the UI, so on the RunPod, I would open the Jupyter Lab from the RunPod control page and then go into wan2gp outputs and that is where your files, your songs will show up, and then you could just download them from there. And if you're running on your own machine, just go to the outputs directory, and that's where your songs will be. And while you enjoy 2010's EDM Elvis, I'm going to show you how you can use the prompt enhancer to write the lyrics for you. So if you go into configuration, then extensions, you can select your prompt enhancer. We're going to go with the larger uncensored one, and then we're going to make sure it's on-demand button only. We don't want it automatically behind the scenes enhancing our prompts. We want to always see what it's doing, and then make sure to save your settings. And then go back to the video generator tab, and now you will see under the lyrics box a compose lyrics. So now we can just write a prompt to create the lyrics. So upbeat song for Caroline, who likes to dance. And then just click compose lyrics. And it will take a couple seconds. The first time you run it, we'll have to download the model, but then you will get your full lyrics. That first line with the hashtag of your prompt is ignored for purposes of the song. It just has it there so it can show you what you wrote, and then the rest of it is the actual prompt with the lyrics. This prompt enhancer works for the other models as well, so you can use it in the video generations. I don't find it that helpful over there, but here for the songs, it is pretty helpful because it formats them correctly, and you can test things pretty fast. One last thing I wanted to show you with song generation, you can create snippets of songs and instrumental sections. So I wanted to create a drum solo, so I just put drum solo in brackets, and then live rock drum solo, high energy drums only as my caption tags, and reduce the duration to 20 seconds. And I got this, which I'll use to see if the video model can keep a beat later. Once you have your song, you can go straight to a video model, but you're going to get much better results, have much more control if you create your own images first, and then you can do image to video. So we're going to use the Flux 2 Klein 9B default model to generate some images to use in our video generation. To create your original prompts, you can write them by hand, you can use the prompt enhancer we just went over, or you can use the prompting skill for Flux Klein that the team that created the model actually made, which makes it easier to get a prompt that will work well. So what I did actually is I gave a link to the prompting skill to ChatGPT and told it to write a prompt for me of a female rock star on stage, because the song I had is an alternative rock type song with a female vocalist. And this is what it produced. Once we have a prompt we like, we just have to set 1080p resolution, 16:9 for the dimensions, and then leave the steps at the default, and then generate. You could add LoRa's if you want a specific look or effect. There are a bunch on Hugging Face and Civid AI for this model, but for this, we're just going to go with our prompt and generate. If it's the first time you're using this model, it has to download the weight, so it will take a little longer. Also, if you switch between models, when you switch back to use a model, it will have to load it into memory, so it will take a little longer the first generation. You get our image in about a minute, and I'm going to save it. I made a bunch to try to get one that I would like, and then once I got the one that I liked the most, I went over to inject reference image, selected conditional images are people, and dragged in the image I liked. Then I just made really simple prompts changing the style. So here I started off with a 3D animated Pixar style and hit generate without changing anything else. I get my result in about 16 seconds of the same character, now in Pixar style. And now I'm going to do line drawing. It generates, get that result in about 17 seconds, and then do an oil canvas painting, pop art style. And I kept going in the same way until I had enough images to work with to move on to the video step. But before that, it is also a great technique to use the image generator to create your character from different perspectives. So I also created a number of images where I changed the perspective of the camera so that I could use those images to create video later from different camera angles. You can also create zoomed in images so that you have more detail in the face, and you can also do zoomed out images if you want to show the crowd. Now that we have our music and our images, it's time to create some video. So go to LTX2 in the dropdown, dev 19 billion, and we're going to use the distilled version of the model. click Start Video with an Image, and this is where we drag in one of the images we created with the Flux 2 Klein model. I'm going to start with an Art Deco version of our singer, and I'm going to set the image strength to 0.9. I found that worked well. And we're going to select Generate Video based on soundtrack and prompt, which will then make a box appear for us to drag in our song. Actually, you want to drag in just the vocals from your song. I used CapCut to separate the vocals. You could use a web app like Voices.ai, or in wan2gp, there is that checkbox if you want it to separate the vocals for you, but I like to hear what it sounds like before I do it, so I do it beforehand. And the reason you're only using the vocals is because you want the lip sync to be as good as possible, and by separating the vocals, you're making it easier on the model to determine what the lip sync is supposed to follow. I used a pretty simple prompt for all of these: an Art Deco style stunning rock star with long wavy hair passionately singing into a vintage microphone and playing the guitar. For the different generations based on the style, I just changed the beginning part. So instead of an Art Deco style, I would say an animation style, etc. We're going to select 1080p 16:9, and then we want the duration to be the same length as our audio. So we have 18 seconds of audio, so we're going to have 447 frames at 24 frames per second. Then, under the Advanced tab, we're actually going to leave everything as is. If you were to use a LoRa, this is where you would select your LoRa. But I found that these work pretty well without a LoRa. If the camera was doing weird things, you can always use one of the LTX2 camera movement LoRas that they offer, and they even have a static LoRa to stop the zooming in and zooming out that the model seems to really enjoy. But we're just going to hit Generate, and we get our result a couple minutes later, and then just continue in this way. Since we have everything set up, all we have to do is drag in a different image, tweak the prompt description, and hit Generate again, and just keep doing this until we have enough clips that we like. And once I had these clips, I put them into my video editor and added back the background music and just picked quick cuts of the different styles, one after the other. After I made that, I was curious as to whether the LTX2 model was good enough to do a drum solo. So I gave Flux 2 Klein these two reference images to create a drummer rock woman. At first I tried to just give it the woman and prompt to make her play the drums, but it did not create believable drums, so I pulled an image off of Pexels of a real drummer with a real drum kit and gave both images to generate this. And once I had this image, I fed it to LTX2 along with the audio of our drum solo that we made earlier and got this result. I was impressed that it shows it can clearly stay on a beat and visualize the drum beat, but she is playing way too much cymbal. We are not hearing that much cymbal as we are seeing her play. I tried prompting to fix it. I said, don't play the cymbal at all, don't play the cymbal as much, but it just would not fix it. So what I did is I generated another image where the drumstick is not about to hit the cymbal on the left side as it was in the original image, and then got this result, which for a quick cut, I think is believable. You tell me, especially if you're a drummer. Once I saw that LTX2 can sing and sort of drum, I wanted to see its dance skills. So I made some images of a 3-guy band in a dance position, and then I went back into LTX2 and I took one of the Burning Love song generations and selected one of the guy band pictures as the start image, set the strength at 0.9 like I did before, then dragged in our Elvis EDM song, making sure that we're generating based on soundtrack and text prompt. And this time I kept the vocals, I kept the sound, I kept it just as the song was generated by Ace. And then I iterated a bit on the prompt and finally landed at this prompt. 3 men do an energetic choreographed TikTok dance to the beat of the music on stage. Their lips move to the words of the song. Concert lights flash. Changed the resolution to 1080p, 16:9 dimensions, increased the number of frames so that it covered the full duration of the song. Then for this one, I did a few generations without a LoRa and I didn't have great results. It was a bit blurry with weird camera movements. So I went and got one of the LTX2 team's camera LoRas, particularly the Dolly In LoRa. You can see that it is available on Hugging Face. I will provide all of these links in the video description, and then you can just copy the download link from Hugging Face and put that in the bottom of the wan2gp page there, and it will download the LoRa for you and put it in the right place. And once it's downloaded under advanced mode in the LoRa's tab, you will find it in the drop down, so just select it. I just used a strength of 1.0 and was ready to generate. I did very similar generations with the other two Guy band images, tweaking the prompt a bit, and edited the 3 videos together into this result. It's not the best choreography in the world, but I was impressed that it did pick up the lip sync even though I did not separate the vocals. So given an image and a song, LTX2 was able to create lip sync and dancing of multiple characters all in one video generation. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.